And we're 90 years old looking back on our lives and going, well, that was pretty boring. I didn't really do any of the things I wanted to do. At that point, when you know it's over, do you care about the stress you might have incurred 30, 40, 50 years earlier? No, not at all. So what's the difference?
It's one thing in life to have aspirations, you know, those goals that you envision for yourself. It's another thing to have the talent to cash those checks that your aspirations are writing. My guest today, Brian Cristiano, has both the aspirations and the talent, all the way from Wall Street. Hey, Brian, welcome to the Unstoppables.
Bill, what's up, my man? Look at what I got going on. This is quite an incredible gift, dude, from you. And also, you can't do good business sitting on your ass.
Is that not true?
It's super true. It's amazing. Thank you for this, by the way.
When you combine that with bold, because you were gracious enough to give this to me when I ventured out to New York to do a great vlog with you. Here we are, bold. Right?
That's unstoppable.
Bold worldwide. Brian, you got a unique story. You know, most people that come on the show have this rags to riches story where they came up in poverty. So they're eating out of dented soup cans, kind of like me, but they're fighting their way forward through an impoverished background, fractured family. You didn't have that. You're 17 years old. You sold your first video. You made $40,000 on it. I know where that money would have went, to a local bar. Yeah. It was me. Middle class suburbia. Your parents wanted to send you on to school, on the college. No one can tell the story better than you. So give me Brian Cristiano, 17 years old, early days, background, and the hero's journey to Wall Street.
Oh man, dude. Well, I appreciate the fantastic intro. It's glad to be here, man. I appreciate it. You are quite an unstoppable and bold guy, might I add. Look, I was 17 years old. I just knew I was in the skating scene. I knew I wasn't going to be a pro. That's what I wanted to be, but I knew I could make good videos. I don't know what told me that, but I just started, and family told me I was crazy. Friends thought I was nuts. You know, I mean, we're talking the 90s. YouTube didn't even exist yet. So, but I just went for it. I did it. I got distribution. I sold this video. And then I was like, dude, this is easy. Of course, I didn't even know the word entrepreneur, but I knew I wanted to be in business. I knew I wanted to do it my way. And so I'm like, okay, great. Family's pushing me to go, okay, go to school, everything like that. Okay, great. That's fine. Whatever. Wait your turn was kind of what I was, I guess, in a way told, meaning, you know, you go to college, then you get a job, then you move up that job. Like, you can't just jump from 17-year-old kid to like running a business. You just can't do that. At least that's what I was told in different ways. And so right before I was going to go to college, before I'm turning 18, senior year of high school, my dad, who was in the military for 30 years, was about to retire. And that Friday was his retirement party. And he was a great guy. He loved the military, very dedicated man, lieutenant colonel. So he'd worked his way almost all the way up to the top in the Air Force. So all these people that hadn't seen him in years and years and decades were flying out that Friday to come see him on his retirement. And while he loved the military, he had these bigger aspirations and dreams and things that he always wanted to do, in addition to the military, you know? And so he never really did them because he was waiting until he retired. He was like, okay, I'm going to wait. And he talked about this for many, many years, at least as long as I can remember. The night before his last day of work, that Monday, he passed away unexpectedly, heart attack. And so the irony of that was it was his last day of work, number one. Number two, that Friday, which was supposed to be his retirement party, ended up being his funeral. So all these people still came, but obviously under different circumstances. And so for me, obviously, like, that was intense, but also once I kind of absorbed it, I was like, this seems really crazy. Why am I going to go and do something for potentially 30 years that's, yeah, I like, but it's not my true ultimate long-term dream? Why am I going to wait? What if I don't get that opportunity? What if I don't get that time? Like, he didn't get the time, and no one expected it, including himself. And so while I went to college, I ended up quitting a year and a half in, just resigned, moved on, moved back to New York, and started a production company. I mean, it was just me at first, and I hired somebody, and another person. And it took me, you know, I thought it was easy, moved my business into Manhattan. I was like, dude, I got it, man. I sold a $40,000 skate video. This is no problem. And then one day woke up $250,000 in debt, can't make rent, personal or business, can't make payroll, like just totally like hit with a ton of bricks, a punch in the face. And it took me a long time to get out of that, because for me, all the people that I was like, screw you, man, like I'm doing it my way, you don't know what you're talking about. All of a sudden, all the things they told me, like business is hard, you're gonna fail, it's, you know, ridden with debt, and, you know, 90% of businesses never make it. I was gonna prove them right, and then I was gonna be wrong, and I didn't know what to do. I literally rented out my apartment on the Upper East Side to some stranger, with the caveat being like, there's gonna be somebody sleeping on the couch, are you cool with it? He was cool with it. The person sleeping on the couch was me. And I was on the couch for like almost half a year, 4 to 6 months, just not doing anything other than the bare minimum to get to the next day. And what's funny is I actually told this story to my employees like 3 weeks ago, right before I made some major changes in the company. And I'd forgotten this story. I literally never told anyone. And this is the first time I'm saying it publicly. There was one point where I literally had the electricity turned off. And I was lucky because the chef that was renting my apartment was out of town that week. And so I didn't have enough money to pay for the electric bill. He had no idea we were 2 months behind on rent. I wasn't paying the electric bill. Had the electricity shut off by Con Ed, which is like the most embarrassing thing I could ever go through. I'd forgotten this story because it was like Christmas time. And I had to like, once I finally got enough money to pay it, plus the back debt, I had to like go into the basement area with the super of the building plus Con Ed so they could like flip the switch back on. Like that was super embarrassing. It was crazy.
Lowest point of your life. That was the nadir, I would assume, of your life. You're dancing with debt. You're actually drowning in debt. Lights are literally turned off, which could be a euphemism or it could be a metaphor for what you thought was your future. How did you start? Tell me, first of all, give me your mindset. Start some mindset. What was your mindset when that electricity went off around Christmas time? Man, it's a double whammy. What was your mindset then?
It was depressed, man. I really didn't know how to handle that situation because also I didn't tell anyone, like family members, business people, no one had any idea. And so I'm holding this all on my own shoulders because I don't want to admit to where I really am. Still putting on the front to some extent, but really nobody's home. And you know, so it was really tough. I was really down. Like I didn't want to pick up the phone because every call was somebody asking for money. You know, there really weren't, you know, uplifting calls. So I was ignoring calls, voicemails full, ignoring emails. Didn't even want to open up the email because I didn't want to see what was coming in. And just doing the bare minimum. I just wanted to shut out the world and pretend that it didn't happen. Like I had my head in the sand at that point.
Your father's passing had to be an object lesson for you to seize the moment. And in getting to know you over the time, I've been to your office. And by the way, congratulations on your new digs on Wall Street. That is primo real estate, baby.
Thank you.
You just upgraded into a bigger office. I was in your other one, which is splendid as well. And I really like the bar. I shouldn't say that. We'll just say it's legal. But your object lesson of watching what happened to your father, getting to know you, you're a person that's not waiting for that perfect opportunity. You are the action guy. Is that really what influenced you to say, hey, look, man, what am I waiting for? The time is right effing now.
Yeah, well, at one point, I remember the exact moment. I came home, because I was still working, I'd still go to the business, but again, I would just do enough to get to the next day. I wasn't progressing anywhere. And I remember getting home, miserable day, felt down, it's like 11 o'clock at night, I'm wiped, I just want to go to sleep, and I get there, I get back to my place, and the guy that's renting out my place is sitting on the couch watching this documentary. It's got like 3 hours left in it. And he wants to like hang out and talk to me and watch this thing. And I'm just sitting there on the couch going, dude, I can't even go to sleep. Like, I just want to ignore the world and go to sleep. This sucks. I can't even go to bed in my own apartment. What am I doing? And so the next day I remember waking up and consciously thinking like, what am I waiting around for? Like, if I continue to do exactly what I'm doing now, I'm either going to be in the exact same place or worse, bankrupt, kicked out, homeless, whatever. Or I face all my fears, which is picking up the phone, answering the emails, telling everybody the truth, taking more action. And what? Worst case scenario, I end up exactly in the same position. Best case scenario, I get out of it. So I was like, man, I just have to take some action. I can't sit here on the couch for 4 or 5 months. Like, nothing's going to happen if I do.
Great advice for those at home that are unwilling to face fear. You've got to face your dominant fear. You've got to take action through those fears. And you had enough catalysts in your life from your father's passing until the electricity goes out, and then you can't even in your own home change the channel or turn something off. I mean, that's, what's the greater fear? Going out there and facing the creditors or doing that?
Yeah, well, that was it. I finally felt like I was up against the ropes. Like there was no other option. I literally have no freedom in my life. And so doing the same thing, which really wasn't doing anything, wasn't going to change it at all. So I had no choice but to take action. There was no other option.
Some people think this is like the old comic stuff. Right after the comics, there was a section in the town newspaper. It was called Ripley's Believe It or Not. They look at you, looks like you just walked off the cover of GQ. They say, these things can't happen. This guy, man, he's got Wall Street. He's got this stuff down. He's got a pretty little rose there sitting in his lapel. He's bold. He's the owner. He's the CEO of Bold Worldwide. Man, he's killing it. So what would you say to the person? What do you say to these people? Because you have to run into them on your worldwide trips. What do you say to people who live a day-to-day in that way, where they're just turning the page? They're showing up collecting a paycheck. It's just a job. I mean, they're foreclosing their future because they just don't think there's anything else except to open their mouth, suck in some air, and then get to the next day. What would you tell those people?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Literally, what's the point? Because we're guaranteed only one thing in this damn world is at some point the lights are going to get shut off.
For real.
And we don't know when that is, dude. For me, that could be tomorrow. Hopefully not. If I got another 70, I don't know. But the reality is there's no way to know. Your ticket gets pulled at some point, every single one of us. And the reality is we walk around like that's not the truth. Like that's never going to happen to me. And it could happen tomorrow. So what's the point? And if let's say we both live, which I'm sure we both will, really long lives, and we didn't do what we wanted to do, and we sat around and went day to day. And we're 90 years old looking back on our lives and going, well, that was pretty boring. I didn't really do any of the things I wanted to do. At that point, when you know it's over, do you care about the stress you might have incurred 30, 40, 50 years earlier? No, not at all. So what's the difference? And here's the thing. This is, I think, something I got a lot of clarity on recently. All that stress that people build up about taking the action, dude, it was more stressful sitting on the couch worrying about all the things that were going to happen to me. You build it up in your mind as if this action you have to take is so stressful. Dude, sitting on the couch and everything happening to you is a lot more stressful than having control and taking action and opportunities.
Oh yeah, that mind plays that florid imagination of fear, which is that we think of some future thing, that's a future experience that appears to be real, and that stymies us. That's more stressful to me than anything else. And what you mentioned too is regret. That's my biggest fear, is to be at that point at 90, 95 and say, what could I have done? What should I have done? I can't do it now. So,
That's right.
I mean, I think that's really where you start with that comparison between where I am, what do I need to do? Brian, for you, turning the curve. So now you're returning those phone calls because we're taking this hero's journey. All right, we've been crushed. Now we're coming back. We're facing our fear. What happens next?
So for me, I started reading different books. I went to seminars. I just really needed to get out of that environment, which was my own head, and see that there are opportunities and options. And when I started surrounding myself, whether it be books, people, seminars, of other people that saw that there was opportunity, I started to at least recognize that there was upside. So just that change alone started to get me to go, you know what, I can get off this couch. I got to do something. There is no other option for me. And, one of the first things I did, and I forget what book I read it in, but it said, hey, you want to know how self-conscious you are or confident? Walk down the street and stare people in the eyes and don't break the stare first. And it was so simple and so silly. But at that point in my life, I would do that. And as soon as someone would catch my eyes, I'd look away. And what you start to realize is you don't have any confidence, you don't have any power. You're internalizing everything. You're scared of everything happening to you. And what I did for 2 days, seriously, I would walk down the street. And of course, in Manhattan, there's a million opportunities to do this. And people want to punch you in the face. So it's an extra.
I was going to say, yeah, be careful.
It's like 5-star level, this experiment. And I would just walk down the street and I would consciously recognize when I break the stare, and I kept doing it until finally I literally stared this dude down, walking down the street at Madison Avenue somewhere. And he literally was like, what? And I'm like, oh. crap. Okay, cool. But all of a sudden you just start to realize like, this is so silly. I can't even look someone in the eyes. How am I going to get off the couch? How am I going to get out of debt? $250,000 at that time in my life seemed insurmountable. Like, how am I going to turn this thing around? And really what it was just saying, I got to face my fears, man, whether it's staring people in the face or picking up the phone when a creditor calls and just going, you know what, you're right. I owe you money. I can't pay you now, but here's what I'm going to do. And you're going to have to trust me. And the thing is a lot of those folks were like, well, you know what, you need to pay us right now. And I said, I can't. And they were like, well, then, you know, we're going to, and I said, well, the other option is I claim bankruptcy and you get nothing, or you can give me some time. They're like, all right, we'll give you some time. Mm-hmm. So they gave me some time. And the craziest part of it is once I got into action, once I started facing those fears, answering every call, being totally honest with them, myself, really recognizing that like I have to deal with this. So I have to create revenue. I've got to get out off the couch and make phone calls and sell and network and put myself in front of people and places and pay off this debt and make more money than that. It took me 14 months after I got off the couch. Not only did I pay off all of the debt and I lost my roommate, I did my first $1 million in sales.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I went from $250,000 in a hole. Like I felt like I couldn't even like get up in the morning to doing $1 million in sales.
Mindset, then model. Did you change the model of how you did business?
Yeah, that came a bit later for me. I think at first to get that first $1 million in sales was just extreme scrappiness, just based on I had no option. I just felt like I had to. It was the first time in my life where I thought I felt like I had the grit. And that was really like, no, you don't have any grit. Here's what real grit is to get off that couch and answer that phone and go out and then answer a debt call. Then make a phone call trying to close business as if you've got no problems. Yeah. Once you start doing that and you can do it and you can play both sides of that and strengthen yourself, man, you just become a different person. Like I grew so much over the year and a half. It was unbelievable.
It's called burning your boat. Nothing like looking back and seeing plumes of smoke and though you have no other option. There is only option plan A and you're going forward. That's just burning. You have a weekly vlog that is chronicling your journey. We talked about aspirations and talent up front, of which you have both. You have global aspirations with Bold Worldwide. So tell me what your blog does, where we can find you, where we can tune in to see Brian Cristiano make this journey to build $100 million company.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. You know, so the vlog and the series called Growing Bold, and we are documenting our growth, the behind the scenes of what it takes to take a business from, you know, just under, when we first started, just under 5 million, now over 10 million, and we're on our way to 100. And I'm confident that we'll do it. You can find it. My social everywhere is Bold CEO, at Bold CEO. The series on YouTube, on Facebook, etc. We took a little hiatus because Matt Monero was in here the other day and I torched the business, as he likes to say. So we're resetting and recalibrating a bit. But that's just the requirement of getting to that next level, is recognizing what got you here isn't necessarily what's going to get you there. So yeah, I'm a big believer in doing what you sell, right? So there's so many advertising agencies that they'll sell you television commercials, they'll sell you Super Bowl spot, they'll sell you radio, they'll sell you print. When was the last time that ad agency bought its own product? When was the last time that ad agency did a strategy, did content, did a TV commercial? Probably never. And so for me, I'm selling, hey, you need to have a digital strategy. You need to understand how your marketing aligns with your business KPIs. You need to do content. You need to tell your story. You need to use data and analytics and paid social. We do that for ourselves, and it's growing the business. And so it's kind of this really fascinating thing where we're using our own process and we're eating our own dog food, I guess, as some people like to say. So we believe in it. Yep. We believe in what we do truly, and it works. So it's like a lot of different angles here on the content outside of just like showing off what we're doing.
Well, before you get anybody else to drink the Kool-Aid, you have to be willing to stand in front and drink that Kool-Aid. So you have to believe in what you're doing. That's all part of confidence you talked about. And you know, you said this, I looked, I'll paraphrase it, but it was on one of your posts. And you said, if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing no one. So tell people about being specific in that niche of marketing, knowing who you are, having the clarity, and then going forward.
Absolutely. I think there's two core steps. One is understanding, what do you want to accomplish as a business? Because so many people say to me, businesses, big and small, say, well, we need to do social media. We need to do content. Why? Maybe you do, and you probably do. You probably should, but for what purpose? What are you trying to accomplish from a business perspective? Even we're talking you and I, personal brands, we're still trying to accomplish something specific. What is that? Then you take a step back and say, what are the tools from a marketing perspective that's going to help me get there the most efficiently and the quickest? And you implement those. And so really at the end of the day, it's about, also understanding not only what do you want, what do your customers or potential customers want? Because I can talk about something all day, but if no one really wants it, it's just what I think the market wants. Who cares? I mean, how many companies? I read a statistic the other day. I think it's like almost 90% of all startups fail because of lack of product market fit. Meaning they have an idea that they think is great, but they never truly test it in the marketplace to find out that no one cares that you came up with an app that automatically fills your coffee mug in the morning. No one actually wants that. But you think it's cool and innovative, so you go out and spend a bunch of time, energy, and money. And everyone forgets at the end of the day, it's really about the customer. So if you understand what you want, and then you understand your customer, and then you have your story in between, man, it's just rocket fuel.
That's the mahogany desk ego mentality, I call it, where you're taking stuff and you're pushing it out, but you're not doing the research and pulling it back in from the customer to find out what they want. And I've seen many companies in our business, corporate insurance, take ideas, push it from their conference room, and it doesn't work. Client doesn't want it, it's too expensive, or it just doesn't work. Rather than going out and taking and getting the research and finding out what works and then making it fit for the client. It's pretty simple, I think. So Matt Monero is a mutual friend of both of ours. I love the guy. Yeah. But Monero is a lot like me in this way. He's a hammer, so everything he sees is a nail. Boom, 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 boom. I'd like to know how you blew up your strategy and you're still scrambling from that visit.
It's actually really funny because I had a conversation with him. This was about a month or about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And I said to him, listen, I texted him, I said, hey, I might need to chat with you. I have a feeling I might need to torch this thing. And for anyone that hasn't heard Matt talk about that, really it's about resetting your goals from a business perspective and resetting your strategy and your standards and then getting rid of the things that don't fit that. And so he's like, yeah, okay, cool. And I started going down the rabbit hole and I just felt more and more, I'm like, you know what, this is just what I have to do. And so I sort of recalibrated the standards of the agency, reset. I said, I walked in one morning and said, okay, guys, I'm doing a presentation. I did a 90-minute presentation in front of the entire agency, all hands. And I said, great, here's where we're going. I really genuinely know and believe in our heart of hearts that with what we know about the industry, what we do, we can become one of the greats. But we're not going to get there unless we act like the best. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. And if you feel like it's hard now and you're just waiting for it to let up, maybe this isn't the place for you. And that's cool. And I respect it because everyone was great, but I want to build the Super Bowl team. Who's on board? And so I came up with a strategy because I was thinking about it. I'm like, how do you do this in a way where you don't completely destroy morale? And so I gave everyone an option. And I said, I did the presentation. I really made very clear standards of what we're about to do, what we're going to accomplish, and the level of standard we're going to be held to the following Monday for anyone that walks back in the door. And if you don't come back in the door, that's fine. Here's a very, very good severance package. And a lot more people that I thought took it.
That's
cool. And we condensed down to an extremely, extremely talented and passionate core team that is 110% aligned with the vision.
I find nothing brings more clarity than an org chart along with expectations that are clearly delineated, and they have to be your core expectations, and they got to be reinforced and measured. And that's, I remember a CEO told me, what you don't expect, you have to inspect. And that sounds like micromanagement. It's not. You can do it at a macro level. Certain things Monero does is an early sales meeting and then an afternoon one to say, what did you do? Did you hit your targets? Did you make your calls? What are the results? Bam, 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 every day. So we're both in his fan club. We're going to play a little psychological game here. I'm going to mention one word, and you're going to tell me what that word means to you.
Boy, all right, let's go.
I love you, man. You are bold. Just like, bring that shit, wouldn't you? All right,
let's do it.
Ready?
Yeah.
Faster. Faster. What does that mean to you?
I need to be faster. We need to react faster. The economy is moving faster. Business is moving faster. Let's go. Next. Fast.
Yeah, no, because, and I was reading again that you've adopted that behavior, which is to get to know faster. Even, yes is one thing. Yes is often a process. But the key thing is not wasting time and getting in that time suck. Get to know faster. N-O, to know faster.
Absolutely. When you were here, by the way, you and I spoke about it. I don't remember if it was on camera or not, but I was talking to you about that. It's about the sales process, qualifying, getting to know, is this an opportunity or not for real? And if it's not, cool, that's fine, move on.
Yes, that is the biggest time suck there is in corporate America. The people that think they're having have an opportunity, all they're having is a conversation, and they're getting nothing. Yeah. The biggest time suck there is faking it until you make it realistic.
To some extent, and I'll explain, because I don't think you can fake it, meaning you don't really have any talent to back it up or any product to back it up. I think that you can stretch the gap farther. I think you don't have to take one step at a time. You can leap 4 or 5 or 6 every once in a while, but you have to have either the talent or the product or the mindset or the ability to deliver on those promises. Otherwise, you might get away with it in the short term, but you're going to fail overall. So I do believe that you can push farther than what you've accomplished, and maybe even a bit further than that sometimes, so long as you ultimately know you can deliver.
I think for the most part, for me, style gets me in the room, but substance keeps me there. So there better be a little short window between your style or the assumption of style, which is a certain way you get into people, and then the substance that has to follow behind it. It's like the Texas saying for the people that have nothing but braggadocio and they say all the things they can do. It's all hat, no cattle. I mean, you got to deliver, baby. And you got to be consistent on your deliveries. So here's the thing about success. We all have different ways to define it. So I need Brian Cristiano's, no cut and paste from anybody else. How do you define success?
Success for me is 2 things. On the personal side, for my family and for myself, total financial freedom. And I don't necessarily, yeah, dude, I want to buy the jet. But it doesn't have to be that. I want financial freedom, like my wife has, suffers with Crohn's disease. I want to be able to say, cool, you need the specialist who's going to take $1 million cash only to come here now, and I can do that. Like, that's freedom to me. Like, not being held back by the system, right? Having options and opportunities. And then on the business side, success to me is walking in the door every single day. 1, realizing that I built a team that is substantially smarter than I am. And 2, being in an environment that makes me feel what I started to learn when I was getting off that couch, meaning everyone is looking for, how can we improve? How can we get better? Myself included, and everyone in my environment pushing for that. Those 2 things, man, I'll be a real happy person, and I think that'll probably take us places.
Is that what gets you excited in the morning? Is that the pull of your purpose, passion right there?
100%. I love problem solving. I love coming up with a solution to something, especially when people think it's not possible, or like, well, this is how it always works. Okay, cool. Let's go.
Well, the other side of that coin of success is failure, which you've been and I've been intimately familiar with. We do that dance with failure often if we're doing anything. So what do you consider to be your biggest failure, and then what did you learn from it?
My biggest failure. So look, I'm sure I can come up with other ones, but the one that really jumps off was staying on the couch for 4 or 5 months. That was a huge failure. You know why? Because regardless of all the other, quote, failures or mess ups or challenges in life, which I've had plenty of, don't get me wrong, the problem with that was I was in complete control. I felt like I was out of control, like it had nothing to do with my choices. Dude, it was all on me. And so how much time did I burn in my early 20s? I don't live with any regret, but I do just go, man, where would I be if instead 5 months or even before that, because obviously I didn't just wake up one day, $250,000 in the hole. It happened over time. What if I had realized that I should be taking more action earlier? Where would I be today? Now, again, I don't live with regret, but not taking action is the biggest failure of my life. But also because I lived through it all the way to the very edge as far as I could take it, man, that drives me to keep pushing every single day.
I like you a lot, which won't get you a cup of coffee downstairs. I know where that Starbucks is, but we relate in one significant way. I don't. Where is it? I don't rationalize my deficiencies, or I don't see things that aren't. I see things for what I perceive them to be, not because I want them to be a certain way. You can't rationalize in life. You have to just face the problem head on. You got to see it. Most of the time, it's in our mirror. And what you're doing is a great. I would seriously admonish the audience to try this. You're playing it forward in your life. At a very young age, you're playing it forward, thinking I've wasted this much time. I don't want to be on this park bench at 90 years old. So I'm going to get my ass in the action right now. And I think that's beautiful. The other part of that question really, and I think we may have touched on this, but what does Brian consider to be his defining moment? The moment that took you on that trajectory to say, was it when you were on your couch? It's a hell of a lead question, isn't it?
It really, right, it is, because that was clearly a very defining moment. But I would say this, right? That was the moment, like I've had a few key moments, right? They've all, I think, it all layers on top of each other. It's all exponential. So that was the moment in which I realized, dude, you got to take action. Nothing's going to happen. You can't have these big dreams and sit on a couch. Nothing happens there. That was a very big defining moment. My father passing away when I was 17 years old before retirement was an extremely defining moment, because that's still to this day, every time I feel like I don't want to do something, I go, dude, what if you don't get the chance tomorrow? Go do it, right? Like that I think about consciously. But even later, right? Like, I only really made the decision to push this hard in the business. I mean, dude, I built, my first company, 24 DPE, to a few $1 million in revenue. I mean, that's small in comparison to a lot of people. It's still super tiny, but the vast majority of businesses never make it to the 7-figure mark, right? So like, I recognize that it's still tiny for where I want to do and the people that I look up to, but that's fine. I did that. Then I grew bold to the same and then some, but I didn't really take the leap to say, hey, what do I really believe I can do? Like $100 million is great. It's a good story and we're going to do that. But really I'm like, I want to take over the industry. I think our industry is broken. Someone else needs to step in who doesn't come from this industry. Why can't it be me? And there was a few very tight things that happened to me. One was spending time with Jordan Zimmerman, who gave me like many, many hours of his time, who owns Zimmerman Advertising in Florida, $4 billion ad agency. He spoke at 10X. A friend and mentor of mine now. And he said, dude, he let me come to his agency and he gave me, I thought he was just going to give me a quick, like 5 minutes and then have somebody give me a quick tour around. He spent almost 4 hours with me. And I said, at the end of it, I said, dude, why'd you give me so much of your time? You're running a $4 billion company. He said, I see a lot of myself in you, right? He grew up in Jersey. I grew up on Long Island, very similar, vibe. And he goes, I just wanted you to see what's possible from a dude that had a dream, who just had a dream and took it as far as I could. I wanted to see what the $4 billion version looked like so that you can dream bigger. And I was like, damn, that's awesome. Wow. Him, and then actually Cardone like punched me in the face verbally about really like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you running a business? Like, you're not safe at this size. You've got to scale. You got to get bigger. And so a lot of those things happened at once, which was the fuel for me to just, honestly, it was almost just, I already knew all those things. It was just having people that have accomplished a lot and and people that I look up to just say like, bro, if you want it, go get it. You can. Now's your chance. What are you waiting for? And I was like, damn, that was very reinforcing. That was a huge catalyst in the last couple of years.
For us to gain the attention that we need to scale, we need to be different. We need to have a differentiator. We need to be distinctive. Now, when you're in a room with you can tell you have that ebullient sense of possibility. You have that spirit. You have that positivity that just exudes from your pores. Maybe that was sweat. But you do, you have that. You get that life force. For me, I thought if I'm in a conference room and there's 100 people in there, 20 people, 10 people, 5 people, one of those deer ears is mine, I'm going, I got a shot. See, I think I was the difference that way. What is your differentiator? Because there's a whole lot of noise out there in advertisement. There's a shit ton of noise. How do you cut through the shit so they can hear your message?
It's kind of crazy because it's so simple. It's just being real and honest with both how I'm presenting it and both marketing in general. Because here's the fascinating thing that's happened in the last 10 years. Social and digital have skyrocketed. We all know, we got to be on social, we got to be on digital. Simultaneously, now there's all of this data and information. And so what happens now is everyone knows they need to do it, but no one knows what to actually look at. And so what happens is it becomes this overcomplicated, convoluted mess of quote unquote marketing, which is just a bunch of tactics lined up without ever taking the step back to go, what's the strategy? How does this come back to our business? And a lot of the times it's the most simple conversations. What do you want? Yes. And going from there. And while everyone's like talking about, all of the data, yeah, that stuff's important, way downstream, man. And so I think for me, it's really simplifying it and understanding that the industry itself is old. The 82% of all the media dollars is still in traditional media, though it doesn't work, and we know it doesn't work. So there's only a small fraction in digital and social, and most of the money in digital and social is confused and convoluted. So at the end of the day, there's only a few businesses, a few marketers that like really get it, and it comes back to basics.
You mentioned two traits, real and honest. I found this, my friend. Honesty is disarming because people don't expect it. It's the same as being real. In a world of fake, when you come forward, you're real, you disarm them with honesty, you're going to be different. You're going to be different. People see through that. It's a matter of time. All right, Brian, it's 2019. The calendar has turned. You've done your Happy New Year's, and you look back on 2018. What would have been a successful 2018 campaign?
Wow. Marketing, or like what did 2018 look like?
Just throw anything you want to in there, man.
Whoa. All right.
The field is yours.
Wow. All right. Open. As you said, let me grab the paintbrush here. So 28, looking backwards at New Year's back to 2018, I have recalibrated the agency by bringing in much more senior experienced folks that have extreme experience, but also get the vision. They're not caught in the way that it has been. They know they need to step out. They want to leave the big ad agency because they know it can be done different, and they see our vision and our passion and want to get on board. So I've put in place some much more senior VP level folks to help take this company to the next level, which has allowed me to step up, act as a much stronger CEO and our own marketing and our own presence for the company, which in turn ends up giving our clients better results because we've grown a stronger, better, smarter team. That's a successful 2018 for me.
And you got a really sweet space.
Yeah, man.
I did the walkthrough. You got a really cool sound room too. I'm kind of envious.
I know it's coming together. There's still like, nothing's hung on the walls yet. It's all like propped up on the floors, but we're getting there. It's coming together. We're like week one in a day.
He doesn't hesitate or wait for opportunity. He makes things happen. He believes in his business, and he lives and buys his own product. That's strong. He knows his why, his mission, and he, above all, pursues it boldly. He's my friend, Brian Cristiano. Brian, because my Instagram is blowing up with questions on this, where do we find you? Again.
Oh man, I appreciate that, man. At Bold CEO on all social. You can find me there.
At Bold CEO. This is my last one, and it's sad that it's my last one because I could just riff with you for a long time. But if you were going to write a paragraph, it's the end of days now. You've lived your life with a vibrancy, with a vigor, with a passionate pursuit of excellence, and you've achieved it. And now you are 150 years old, so you have to go. You write something that others could learn from, to grow from. What would that paragraph look like?
Man, that is deep. I wish I was a better copywriter in very tight timeframes with the pressure on, but I'll do my best. I would tell people that it's not worth waiting. That life, to me, whether you play poker or not, you don't have to play the game, but you just have to understand this, that you can sit at a poker table and feel like you're playing it safe by not playing a hand and waiting to get pocket aces. But guess what happens? Every time it goes around the table, the big blind and the small blind come away. So a little bit of cash comes out of your pile. A little bit of cash comes out of your pile. You can sit there and never play a hand and lose. You are guaranteed to run out of time if you just sit there. You might lose if you play your hand. You're guaranteed to lose if you don't. So you might as well play your hand. And the other piece of advice I would give is to while you should understand what you really want in the future, you shouldn't put so much weight on the things that might be or could be. Because for me, as I get a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I find that what holds me back in life is when I go, well, I don't want to mess up this opportunity because this could lead to these 17 other things. Same thing. It might not. Do the best that you can. Take action as fast as you can. There's no perfect way to where you want to go. You might as well play. Go all in.